Self-help. It's a huge industry. Books, courses, seminars, videos. It's an industry that has huge demand. Many people are looking for ways to improve themselves. Sometimes we discover our flaws ourselves. Sometimes other people help us discover what's wrong. The idea of changing your outlook, habits, or ways of communicating isn't a new fad. The now very famous book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie came out 90 years ago. The demand has been around for a long time, but now, thanks to the pressures of modern life and social media, many people are always on the lookout for life hacks, routines, diets, workflows, and anything else that makes their life closer to that of someone they look up to. There are lots of reasons for this. For some, there is a genuine need to fix a deep-rooted problem that has existed for a long time in their lives. For others, it can be about avoiding stress and hardship, or living in a bubble of comparison, where people see others and assume they have their lives figured out to a much higher standard. When you look through the various self-help materials available, some are very well researched and presented, and others less so. What lots of them have in common is that they focus around mindsets, systems, routines, and social behaviours, but through the lens of the author who has written the book. This is fairly unavoidable, but it creates a problem. As humans, we are individual, and a system that works for one person may not necessarily work for another. Self-help systems can possibly lead to elevated expectations and feelings of failure when one method doesn't stick. Then you feel guilty, feel like you're failing, and look for the next self-help method to find a fix. Then, of course, throughout this process, you end up with a mindset that I've been certainly guilty of having, that your life will begin once a certain thing has been achieved or fixed. Over time, this creates a strange relationship with yourself. You start relating to who you are now as something provisional, a draft version that isn't quite acceptable yet. The present becomes something to tolerate rather than inhabit. You're always orientated towards a future version of yourself who finally has things under control. I've noticed how easy it is, in that mindset, to become impatient with yourself. Flaws stop being traits or limitations, and start feeling like faults that need correcting. And the problem with always trying to fix yourself is that you're never quite allowed to arrive. There's always another habit to install, another routine to optimise, another version of yourself to chase. When I solve this issue, I can finally feel like I'm successful. When I've figured this out, I can finally start living. When I become like this person, I'll finally be happy. The thing is, you are alive right now, living, breathing, and experiencing. Things are sometimes hard because they're supposed to be. The comedian Jimmy Carr once said, "You can't have an easy life and great character." I think part of the appeal of self-help is that it promises certainty. If you follow the steps, things will improve. If you stick to the system, you'll get results. But real life doesn't really work like that. People change, circumstances shift. What works for you one year might not work the next. And when a system stops working, it's very easy to assume the problem is you, not the system. That's a heavy thing to carry, especially when you're already trying your best. No one really has life figured out. No one has the perfect solution or answers for everyone. Getting up at 5 a.m. works for some and not others. There is no blueprint for being the ideal human. The ideal human doesn't exist. At no point should you give up trying to be a better person. But at the same time, you are not a project. You are a person of value who is alive right now and should be able to live. To live free of comparison to others, seeking out perfection, and to embrace your individuality. Self-help is not inherently bad, but people's relationships with it can become unhealthy. At some point, you have to stop preparing for a life you're already in and just live it. Accept the flaws, work on things because they feel good, and know it will never be perfect. You don't need to fix yourself before you're allowed to live. You're already here, and that's enough to start from.